So, Mass Effect 4 seems to be on the way as the next Mass Effect game in the not too super distant future. One feature has seemingly become a mainstay in the Mass Effect experience if you look at Mass Effect 3 and Mass Effect Andromeda, namely the multiplayer. So far, multiplayer has taken the form as a basic wave-based horde mode. But I wanted to ask the question, why does it have to be a horde mode?
Good question!
Let's get to it. First, thank you for clicking. There are many advantages and reasons for why BioWare likely will go for a horde mode in the same way as they did in Mass Effect Andromeda and Mass Effect 3. It's safe and we know it works.
All of this just works.
It's fairly easy to incorporate into the main single-player story as well. But if we were to dream bigger, what about Battle Royale, extraction shooters, a Battlefield-like conquest match, an Extreme Beach volleyball match? Let's go through at least 3 of these suggestions and see the pros and cons of implementing them as the next Mass Effect multiplayer mode. I do think there should be a maximum 1 multiplayer mode and not several, as developers have limited resources and the single player should be the paramount focus, some say ideally the only focus for a Mass Effect game. I'm one of those people actually, but let's just stick to the video topic. Now, as some of you know, I have tried a bit of first-person Mass Effect Andromeda. The conclusion so far is that Mass Effect actually performs very well as an FPS and lets you see Mass Effect from a whole different perspective, from characters to combat to all the small environmental details that the devs pour love into that we gloss over in third person. Now, what if we had Battlefield-like or Star Wars Battlefront-like conquest match with a large map and different classes, characters, heroes you could choose and fight against other players and bots using vehicles and different weapons and all that stuff. Imagine just loading up into a Tomka as the human sniper, alongside a Krogan soldier, Quarian engineer, Volus medic, and Asari vanguard attacking the B flag on the EOS desert map, Turian Armax fighters overhead. We all agree this sounds awesome. The only problem is this sounds resource exhaustive for the developer team.
But what about the Tiberium?
As well as hard to write into the main story. By that I mean, this sounds like a big battle, and unless the Reaper War is the backdrop, how would you implement this into the single player story? Perhaps the cat invasion could work? I don't want multiplayer dictating how single player story is formed though, so only if single player allows it should it be implemented as to not break immersion. Immersion is so important in a Mass Effect game. And a lot of players of Mass Effect don't want to fight other players, rather work as a team, so having a PvP mode on this scale can be difficult to implement satisfyingly. But I don't think impossible. The game mode I think would fit the best out of all my suggestions in this video is the extraction shooter. You know what I mean, like Tarkov or Call of Duty's DNZ mode, where you drop in on a large map, leave whenever you want, and in the meantime you loot for upgrades, challenges and equipment, occasionally encountering bots and other enemy players. The catch is that if you die before extraction, you lose all your loot. And what makes this fitting to a Mass Effect experience is that it's not a big battle, so it's not hard to write into a story. Mass Effect has infinite planets in both Andromeda and the Milky Way galaxy, making perfect backdrops for the extraction map. There's also an easy way to write this into single player story and gameplay from a mechanics perspective. By doing challenges and looting in multiplayer, you could transfer those rewards over to your single player character, supplementing your single player grind. Imagine just dropping in as the character of your choice, be that a Krogan Battlemaster, Asari Infiltrator or Batarian Subhuman, and wandering around a desolate planet, perhaps in ruins from the Reaper War, or an abandoned ancient Angaran planet decimated by the Scourge and Ket, dodging enemy patrols and enemy players alike. The tension would be addicting. The biggest counter-argument I see is, again, resource management.
Tiberium is power.
Why invest all this time into this PvP mode and large map when the game's primary focus is the single player, which I admit should always come first. Only if the devs see that they have a lot of money and expertise to spare, I think such a mode should be invested in. This counter-argument is also equally, if not more, relevant for my next suggestion, the Battle Royale, seeing as Battle Royales involve more players than extraction shooters. And why would a BR be a good choice? For a lot of the same reasons as for the extraction shooters, rewards could logically be transferred to single player, making a meaningful, intense connection to single player. And of course, like with extraction shooters, it's a popular game mode, though BRs mayhaps not as popular as a few years ago. Still, Fortnite is doing well.
And the influence of soy products on humanity will lead to a totalitarian femboy empire.
This could draw in players into the mode, a mode EA would no doubt monetize greedily and mercilessly, giving more money to Mass Effect, meaning better games, presumably. And a lot of new players could be interested in trying out the single player attached, further increasing the Mass Effect fan horde. We are Legion, we are many.
No carrier. No carrier.
That said, a lot of players, and a lot of single player primarily gamers like myself, hate BR on principle, so it might shut them out of the multiplayer experience, which is not good at all either. I myself hated BRs with a passion until Warzone launched in COVID and everybody and their mothers were playing it, so I just had to tag along. The logical solution to the question of what multiplayer mode to have in Mass Effect 4 is to just continue with the horde mode, as it's relatively cheap to produce and players are comfortable with it. But if BioWare wants to shake things up and have the resources and expertise, go ahead, try out an extraction shooter. Did you know Mass Effect was originally concepted as an FPS? Keep that in mind if you are too comfortable with the Mass Effect third-person mode. But what do you guys think though? Should Mass Effect just stick to the horde mode? Or try and go crazy with the multiplayer? Do you perhaps think we should scrap multiplayer in its entirety, seeing as it's only been in 2 games and not technically at the core of the Mass Effect experience? As always, like if cool, dislike if cringe. Anyways, that's about it. See ya.